Conversation with John Conenna is sponsored in part by Venus Travel Incorporated in Chicago, the agency that has served the Chicagoland area for over 55 years, which is still owned and operated since 1968 by the Conenna family. Again, Venus Travel, the premier agency for over 55 years, is a proud sponsor of A Conversation with John Conenna. And now, on to our episode. Good morning and welcome to another edition of A Conversation with John Conenna. This morning, we are proud and honored to have on three students from Northwestern University in downtown Chicago. And all three of these students are studying to have their doctorates in physical therapy. But the bigger thrill here of this morning, these three students, who I'm going to introduce, have formed a team called the Chicago Amputee Soccer Team here in Chicago, or forming it. And we are going to get into the cusp of how this is going and how it's getting started. The gentleman on the up top, looking at however you're looking at your computer screen today, to my left and my right is Peter Mcmanus, again, a Northwestern University student studying to have his doctorate. Peter, welcome this morning to the panel. And of course, just below me right now is Michael Fiorante. Michael, good morning and welcome. And of course, we will probably at some point of this podcast this morning be talking also to Angela Widlacki, who's just running a little late because of another commitment. Gentlemen, good morning and thank you for coming on. And I always start out like this. What is going on with both of you young men? And we'll start with Peter.
We just, as you mentioned, John, we're both students, and so this week we started up our last semester of coursework in our program, and so after that we'll go on to our clinical experiences and then hopefully graduate in April. So that's really exciting right now for both of us, is to be starting our last semester of coursework. So finishing up here soon.
Fantastic. And of course, going to this university, which is fabulous. Michael Fiorante, good morning, Michael. And what's going on with you, young man, just for a quick start before we talk about the Chicago Amputee Soccer Team?
Yeah, good morning, John. Thanks for having us on.
This is great.
Right now, like Peter said, just kind of getting back into the swing of things, of coursework, but excited to have just come off of some clinical rotations and getting that knowledge base even bigger. So when we start getting into our future careers, we'll be ready for it. So it's been nice to do that and nice to be back in school and see everybody.
Well, I have to tell you, your parents must be so proud, because I've talked to you, Michael, a few times, and I had a chance here 10 minutes before we opened up with Peter this morning. Probably, if not the best school in Illinois to do this, maybe one of the top 5 schools in the land. And of course, my father, being a alumni of the school, really touched me when you guys wanted to come on for this interview. Let's start talking about this Chicago Amputee Soccer Team. How do we get involved in this? And we'll start with Peter. How does it get started for you? And then we'll go over to Michael. How does it get involved? How do you get involved in this?
We both actually have a very similar story, because we both kind of got exposed to amputee soccer about the same time. Michael and I both went to, along with Angela as well, we all went to the National PT Conference that was in San Diego it was in February this past year. And at the conference, they had in the exhibition hall, and they had a lot of booths and tables for a lot of different companies and different specific chapters and sections within physical therapy. And one of those was adaptive sports. And so on one of the days, they were demonstrating what amputee soccer was, and then they also had blind soccer there as well. And so we got to talk to some of the people that were part of that at the national level, and then also we were able to try it out and kind of just learn more about the sport. We tried out blind soccer, and I personally wasn't very good at it. I was most of the time running around trying to find it, just kind of kicking randomly.
Right.
But but then after that, after we got to experience it, we were like, this is really cool. And so we asked how to get involved locally in Chicago, like if they had anything in Chicago, because they mentioned they have like teams in New England, Houston, and other places.
Wow.
And so we're like, do you have anything going on in Chicago? And they said they didn't at the moment, but they were hoping to grow something. And so then I'll let Michael take over from
Yeah, so
there.
the
But
light bulb goes on. So yeah, thank you for letting me lead into Michael. Michael, so then now I'll use this word. The intrigue now starts the way Peter kind of brought this up. Does this intrigue you just as much as it intrigued him? Your thoughts?
Oh my, yeah. I mean, I remember us walking away from that booth after having that conversation, and we were all just like jaw dropped, because we were like,
Wow.
this is such an amazing opportunity to be involved in such an amazing organization with awesome people and be involved in the sport that, I played at from such a young age. Peter plays it, Angela played it at the college level, at a Division I level. So to be able to be involved in the sport that we love so much with people that are amazing, and to be able to try and grow this community just seemed so rewarding and so amazing that we wanted to be involved as much as possible. So we walked away from that just immediately being like, okay, who do we email? Who do we get in contact with? How do we get this started back up in Chicago? And so that was really exciting, being able to come back and do that.
Before I go to my next question with you guys, what I find amazing about this and what really intrigued me to have you guys on, and of course Angela, was you're going to a school, and the major, the clinic you're taking, it takes time. You need time. So I see just in this early conversation this morning, the passion for it. I mean, there's a passion because, like he says, you're awestruck. You're like, wow, we can do this. This is fantastic. The major, again, point, getting involved. Peter, was it because you were this ex-player and says, hey, I could see this coming to fruition?
part of that, I think I didn't really have much experience with adaptive sports before really going to the conference and kind of learning more. I knew it existed, but I didn't really know too much about it. So I was really interested in like learning about it and everything. And then I think it was just a great way to kind of combine my passions of physical therapy and working with people with disabilities and impairments, and then also just soccer that I've played and continue to play to this day when I can. So I think that just the combining of those two passions really made me excited that I could do this potentially as my professional career if I wanted to, or in some aspect, or just be an extracurricular on the side that still relates to my professional career was really what drew me in, that I can combine both my professional and personal life just so easily.
Michael, going off of Peter's answer, it is basically twofold, like what he just said. In your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's really similar. Soccer is the only sport that I played as a kid, and then growing up into an adult, and still continue to play until now. So being able to combine, that healthcare aspect that I'm so passionate about with the sport that I love just seemed like a perfect mix. And obviously, not to say that you can't do that with any sport, you obviously can, but this just seemed like such a unique opportunity to be involved in, kind of like at the grassroots, right? Because nothing really, things are just getting started in Chicago. So to be able to come in and join this community and kind of help form the basis of it just seemed so incredible to be involved at that level, and just being able to meet everyone so far has just been really rewarding. So it's been an awesome experience so far to get involved in.
If you don't mind me asking both of you, what are your ages? And that's why I want to elaborate on what I'm going to say next. What are your Peter? How old are you right now?
25.
And Michael?
I'm 24.
24. Okay, so you know what? Another just an amazing thing here. I had coached ice hockey for many years here in the state of Illinois, and I still am involved in some capacity here in the state to give back to the sport that I love. So what I find amazing, when I was that 24, 25-year-old like you guys, I was playing the sport. But the beauty of this is the way you guys are thinking already here as players that can still play the sport to give back to the sport in the way you have is just tremendous, because you don't find that in the era of this day and age. Peter, and this will be for both of you, but what has been the process of growing the sport in Chicago? Can you know, like so far, how do you think so far how it's going? Because I know we had said something that earlier in a conversation that this might be the coming out later part of the summer. How's the process been? We'll start with you, Peter.
Yeah, it's been good. At first, we were kind of like, as Michael was alluding to earlier, right after the conference, we were like, so who do we have to contact to get this started in Chicago? And so we were just kind of like throwing out names. We didn't really know who to talk to really, so we ended up emailing the people that we met at the conference and kind of be like, do you know, you mentioned you're trying to get something started in Chicago. Do you have any contacts specifically in Chicago or anyone we can talk to like that? And then we also, a part of the Northwestern PP School, have a strong relationship with the Shirley Ryan Ability Lab, which is a large rehabilitation hospital in downtown Chicago that's only about a block away from our school. And so we're very familiar with them from just our coursework, and
Sure.
they help out with labs and things like that. And so we kind of knew they kind of had an adaptive sports program that they have there. And we were like, that's a good place to start. And so we kind of reached out to them. And so on. I'll kind of let Michael elaborate. I don't want to take the whole.
Yeah, Michael, you're up, as we would say. But thank you, Peter, for the way you described that. Michael.
Yeah, so I mean, Peter kind of got that initial part. Yeah, so we got we had spoken to one of our professors at school who had put us in contact with a person that she knew at Shirley Ryan, who was the director of adaptive sports at the adaptive sports program. And so from there, I mean, for me, Peter and Angela, this is something completely new. So we were like kind of leaning on their support of like, you know, how do we organize something to get people to come out? How do we spread the word? And so something that the three of us did was we started an Instagram page, which was pretty big for us, trying to reach out to people, not only to play, but also to, you know, come out and support as far as like volunteering and trying to set up in that aspect. And then with Shirley Ryan, you know, being that they're one of the biggest rehabilitation hospitals in the country, you know, they have a lot of connections as well. And they were so willing to help from the beginning of, okay, let's try and like dissect this and be like, okay, let's set up some small goals for ourselves. So first, you know, what do we need? We need equipment. We need soccer balls. We need forearm crutches. So trying to like set up these mini goals for ourselves to help us in the long run of then setting up this soccer clinic to invite players to come out and play. And even, you know, anyone, whether it be children, men, women, whoever, you know, I think that's the big thing about soccer is that, you know, it's for everyone. So I think that's been a really awesome part of this whole process is just is all that. So yeah.
No, that's fantastic. Normally at that kind of like what I call the halfway point of the podcast, I just want to, again, for the people that will be watching us, we are talking this morning to 3 Northwestern University students. We have not yet to see Angela Widlacki, who was going to be on the panel here, but we are right at the moment with Peter Mcmanus and Michael Fiorante, and we are talking about the Chicago Amputee Soccer Team. So, Peter, maybe this is a question I should have opened up with, but I don't mind doing it at the halftime here of this podcast. Of course, the amputee soccer team is different than, let's say, a travel soccer team that was in Ohio or that is in Illinois that maybe Michael and you played on. So the description of this amputee soccer team, of course, I had talked to Michael a couple of weeks back. Of course, the rules, the times of the game are totally different. Can we just elaborate a little bit on that about the amputee style of soccer?
I think Michael might be better to answer this question.
Either one of you, however you want to elaborate. Michael?
Yeah, sure. So as far as, comparing the two, like the traditional form of soccer that we think of and amputee soccer, a lot of the rules are still the same. You can't use your hands. And then, all the field players are playing on forearm crutches, whereas goalkeepers are missing they're missing an upper extremity limb. And so that's probably the biggest difference that you'll see in that respect. And then as far as the number of players that play, there's 7 field players versus 11 in the traditional sense. And I think one big thing to note too is that, you think in traditional soccer, one of the biggest things is like when you use your hands, you get called for a handball, right?
Right.
And in amputee soccer, the forearm crutches are considered an extension of your hands. So you're not able to handle the ball with the forearm crutches while you're playing, which causes a whole new strategy to the game, right? So you're having to strategize, develop tactics that are a little bit different from the traditional way that people view soccer, I think. Which is really cool.
I want to stop you there, and I'll go back to Peter just for a quick second. We talk about, athleticism. This, just the way you described it, Peter, now becomes really like, wow, this is really an athleticism sport because you really know your limitations, and now you have to use what you have, and you can get this done. Your thoughts?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like we mentioned, we were able to watch it at that conference, and watching the people that were at the national level. One of them was a player on the national team, and to watch him like play and some of the things that he could do was better than what I could do with both my feet and things like that. And like even when I tried to hop on the crutches and everything, like it was much different and like a whole different kind of game, and like just that you're using your arms to support yourself a lot, and kind of balance is a huge aspect, especially for amputee soccer. And then just kind of like Michael was alluding to, the style of play is a little different because you just have to not as much skill, more kind of technique and strategy goes into it, because you can't really just blow right by someone or do like a skill move to get past someone as easily as you could in soccer itself. So definitely a whole different game, and a lot of athleticism and a lot of different skills that go into it that even like people that have been playing soccer their whole life can't necessarily do right off the bat. So,
and I have to tell you, I'm going to use a word. You guys can tell me yay or nay, John, you're off, or yay or nay, John, you are on. It really becomes a strategic, almost like a chess match sport, because you're already thinking of that next move. You're thinking, okay, if this happens, so a lot is going into it. I have to tell you, we here in Illinois have a Chicago sled hockey team, which is like an amputee team. And like Peter, I think, boy, you just gave me goosebumps. For all the years I played hockey, I was on the sled against the sled players. The final score was 11-1. We lost. So again, we saw this athleticism like no other. So you guys have really, truly, brought this out. To just kind of jump ahead, but then we'll go back, of course. At what is kind of the ultimate goal here? And I'll start with Michael. What is the ultimate goal for you guys once this gets started to where you think it can be? I think that's my question.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. That's a great point. So I think right now, being that we are in the initial stages of getting something started, we want, I think the goal in general is to develop a community right here in Chicago, because that's that's the mission of any sport. And I think soccer, being that it's the biggest sport in the world, it's the, people call it the beautiful game, right? And
Right.
so because anyone can play it, all you need is a ball and you go. So I think that's the biggest goal for us, is to develop a community in Chicago that's really passionate about amputee soccer and provide access to people that want to play it.
Sure.
So I think that's the overarching goal. As far as, in the future, I think it would be great to see like an official team, like how we see like on the East Coast, there are a couple like official amputee soccer teams. I know there's one in New England, there's one in New York, and there's some on the West Coast in California.
Okay.
So I think that would be a cool long-term vision, long-term goal for us, is to kind of develop something like that and see where that goes.
Sure.
But like I said, I think right now what we're looking at is, let's form this community, let's get people to come in and play. And, from there, I think everything can kind of take off.
Peter, are we getting a lot of are you getting a lot of calls for it? A lot of, in this little infancy, in the infancy stage that we're in, but of course it's growing here. Have you guys gotten, and I'll let you, Peter, by the way, we have Angela Widlacki. Widlacki is coming on. So you might be seeing her coming up on our screen. I think she just has to open up her mic. And there she is. Hi, Angela. Good morning. And thank you for showing up. We truly appreciate it. We had mentioned you at the start of the program, so I will have a couple of questions for you as we are going into the last quarter of this. But Peter, if you want to elaborate on that again, what I had asked you about, what are you getting feedback is my question.
Yeah, we're definitely getting feedback already. I know one of the people that we've been in contact, he is a current player and he kind of does a little bit stuff on the national level. He's gone to like coaching clinics for amputee soccer and things like that. But he lives in Chicago, so his big thing was like he wished something was more local that he could participate in the sport and things like that. And then so it kind of started with him as our one first player, and then it's kind of grown slowly throughout it. And we hope that now, recently, we kind of set a date for our first event, hopefully. And so hopefully now that we have a date, rather than just kind of gaining interest, hopefully it kind of continues to grow, that we have a specific date for people to express interest in. Because potentially if it's just kind of like the vague idea, people might not want to buy in totally, but hopefully now that we're starting to get a date going and kind of more of a formal plan, the interest will continue to grow as it has. So yeah.
Angela, can you hear us? Because I know your mic might. There you are.
Yeah, I can. I just muted it because I got some wind blowing. So
yeah, we live in that city called the Windy City, of course. Yeah. So, Michael, and before I go to Angela, because I want to ask her a couple of questions, it was so gracious of her to come on here at the end. What events do you have planned? And I think you had said something to me outside of this podcast. Are they going to start in August, sir?
Yeah, so I think the plan as of right now is to have our first soccer clinic in that early August timeline, hopefully. Okay. So the goal is to have people come out and play, whether they want to be like an official member of the team or not. Just kind of like I said, growing the community is the big emphasis here, and just trying to have people be more familiar with the sport and just come out and play and experience it for themselves, and hopefully fall in love with it, just like Peter, Angela, and I did. So yeah, so that's the ultimate goal, is to have that event and then future events after that as well, because
Sure.
you know, we don't want it to just stop after one event. So the goal is to keep going after that.
Angela, I'm going to go to you here finally here to get some feedback from you. Your role in this, and of course, Peter and Michael here in the last 25 minutes have been discussing. I'm going to use this word. What turns you on to this? Because the way they brought it to me here today is giving me goosebumps to give back to this sport that they both love. But what's your role in this? And we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks for having me on here and letting me hop on late. I'm at a
no problem.
So,
I didn't want them to hog it, you know.
No. I wanted to make sure I hopped on. So I think what really draws me to this is very similar to Peter and Michael. I love the sport and it's given so much to me. It's also what introduced me to physical therapy, which is how I met Peter and Michael. And I think it's an amazing sport across the world that brings people together. And for us to be able to provide that opportunity to people who might have thought, you know, I'm never going to play the sport again, or I'd never get the chance to try it out, being able to change that mindset for them and offer this opportunity of growing connections with teammates and coaches and mentors, and just having fun and being healthy playing and competing. It's just something I want to make sure that people have access to if we can provide it. So
right.
Yeah.
No, and I want to talk a little bit about Angela here. Of course, Angela, you are studying to have your doctorate in physical therapy also, correct? You're
correct.
And this is at one, as I mentioned with the gentleman here, Peter and Michael Fiorante, Peter Mcmanus and Michael Fiorante, that you, all three of you, need to know, and you guys probably already know, because I'm sure your parents are so proud. This is one of the greatest schools in the world. Probably the top 5, in my opinion, when we talk about universities. So, Angela, before I let you go, I'm going to let you, and I'll get this back to the boys here as we kind of wind this down. Where and how are you involved, where we can find more information about the Chicago Amputee Soccer Team?
Yeah, sure. We're on social media right now on Instagram. I believe the handle is Chicago Amputee Soccer. Peter, can you confirm where their underscores are? I don't want to spell it wrong, but I know we've got some dashes in there.
It's Chicago Amputee Soccer with an underscore in between each word. So
okay, I thought so.
Right. Michael, again, if just to ask you, any other information that maybe that's going to be coming out, or any other thing that is the August the set date here? Is August going to be our first?
That's what it's looking like as of right now. Still confirming final details, but that's what it's looking like at the moment. And you know, I would definitely say, you know, stay updated. You know, following the social media. We're going to be posting a lot of event and information on there, but as well as you know, to become more familiar with the sport, if you want to learn more about it, you know, there's the USA Amputee Soccer website. You know, they have information, whether if you're not in the Chicagoland area, kind of providing some information on where you can find access to the sport if you want, and just learning more about it. You know, provides like their mission of, you know, wanting to develop the sport of soccer for participants with limb differences at all levels. So I think that's the beauty of it, is that it's for everyone, children, adults, teenagers, what have you. So
Sure.
Yeah.
Peter, again, just to elaborate off anything else that maybe we're missing in the sense of when these about more information that maybe you want. I know you put something up on here of where to be reached.
And yeah, so we have the Instagram that's been mentioned. I also know just how we've been spreading the word. Maybe not applicable to your viewers, but we've been using our connections with the physical therapy world to put up some posters that we created to gain interest in things like that in different buildings and hospitals. And then also currently we're in a class for physical therapy, specifically with people with amputations. And so we're kind of using those resources we're learning from that class as well to kind of help spread the word. Yeah. Oh, we also do have an email, which is the same Instagram handle just at gmail.com. So
Okay, very nice. Angela, I'll start the closure with you. Will you guys, and I don't want to use the word guys, this young lady
All good.
here, and these two gentlemen, I'll say, will you be involved once this gets started because of the careers that you've had in soccer? Will you have kind of an impact on coaching this style of soccer?
I would love to be involved in coaching. I want to make sure that I understand the game thoroughly before I get into it, because I think there are different rules for amputee soccer than what I'm used to. And so I want to make sure that I'm giving the players the right information and not just assuming or making assumptions. But I do have experience coaching at the D1 collegiate level. So as soon as I can get back into the game, I would love to from that aspect.
Yeah, because I mean, all three of you could bring a great different perspective and a different knowledge to the game. Michael Fiorante, of course, I know you've played here in Illinois for many years. How do you feel feeding off of Angela's answer?
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, it's it would be amazing to be able to be involved with coaching players. You know, it's so it's funny to see, like, you know, as a player, you're always focused on, you know, that aspect of the game, and you see it from that lens. And then, you know, after not being involved in the game, and now you're coming in from it from a different side, you're seeing it from a whole different lens. So being able to interact with players and you know, other members of an organization is just amazing. So being able to see both sides of it is kind of cool. So yeah, I guess the answer is yes, I would love to be involved in coaching.
Peter Mcmanus, are you going to bring that Ohio mindset to our game here in Chicago? How do you feel?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to stay involved with coaching. I think it's a great way that, because eventually one day probably won't be able to play anymore for whatever reason. And so I think coaching is a great way to be able to continue that. But no matter what, I'd still like to be involved in any aspect I can, whether that's still volunteering or being like just like an assistant that comes every once in a while, and not the main person. But yeah, no matter what, I'd love to continue to stay involved even once I graduate and continue.
Fantastic. Well, I'm going to read something because I'm going to close this off with all three of you. But this is, I'm so honored to have met all three of you and to have talked to you today. But I want to read something to our audience. The mission of the sport really got to me. I knew this was the podcast that I wanted to do. One mission is to promote and develop the sport for the benefit of participants with limb differences. We look to grow the sport for juniors and adults and for women and men. We look to accomplish this through outreach programs at the local levels to help interested players become introduced to the sport, maximize their proficiency, build self-confidence, learn the power of teamwork. And I highlight that in yellow, and build a strong social network. Peter Mcmanus, Michael Fiorante, and Angela Widlacki, I would love to do another podcast with you guys. This was truly an honor here today to have you on. This is fantastic. Keep doing what you're doing. The mission alone, if you can see the hair on my arm, is something. And I truly thank you for today. Any final comments?
Thanks for having us on, John.
Angela, any final comments?
No, thank you so much for having us on. And again, let me hop on late. I look forward to another podcast
you were great.
with you, and I can give you more time.
Yeah, next time we have it, we'll get rid of these two guys and it'll just be me and you. No.
All right.
Michael, any closing comments?
You know, I just want to thank you, John, for providing us with the opportunity to come on and speak about this more and, you know, get the word out. So thank you to you for your time and your willingness to speak with us about it. So it means a lot.
Appreciate it. Peter Mcmanus.
Just echoing what they both have said already, it's just thank you so much for this opportunity. It was a pleasure to come and talk to you and kind of share the sport with people, because I know there's a lot of people out there that don't even know that this exists. So it's great to be able to spread the word and everything. So thank you for this opportunity.
Again, thank you to all three of you. We will get this out to our audience. And again, good morning and thank you.